wait. Let me tell you something.
Your business is more than just products and services. You're telling a story. But how do you tell that story in a way that both engages and builds an audience? If you're struggling to connect with customers or stand out from your competitors, storytelling might be the one key component that you're missing. Welcome to Podcast Pro Tips Episode 11. In today's episode, we'll show you how to use storytelling as part of your marketing strategy so you can create connections and turn listeners into loyal customers. Hey everyone, I'm Quinn from The Podcast Consultant and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to discuss how a good story can create a successful brand. Your brand isn't just a logo and a tagline, it's the emotional connection that you build with your customers and your fans. Think of it like Obi-Wan Kenobi giving Luke Skywalker his father's lightsaber. It's not really about the object, but it's the story and legacy behind it that matters.
What is it? Father's lightsaber.
Be sure to stick around until the end of this episode, as I'll give you one pro tip that many big podcasters use to weave stories into their podcasts, even technical topics, and keep listeners hooked while solving their biggest pain points. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe for more pro tips from podcast professionals like us here at The Podcast Consultant. All right, let's dive in. The first rule of good storytelling is knowing your audience. What are their pain points? What problems are they trying to solve? It's important to tailor your story to show how your product or service fits into that journey. For example, if your audience is primarily entrepreneurs, share stories of overcoming business challenges or taking a new company from nothing to success. Another thing to keep in mind is that people connect with personal stories. If you can tie your message into a real experience, whether they're your own or your clients', you create a stronger emotional connection with your listeners. A prime example of this is The Office. What makes this show so great is that all of the moments on screen are usually ones that we can connect with, understand, and relate to.
I don't want to be laid off. This is a good job for me.
Another thing to think about is the structure of your story. Every great story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Start with a hook, introduce the problem, and then provide a solution. A simple structure like this keeps a listener engaged and leaves them with something actionable after they've consumed your content. It's a little how we structure these videos. It's especially useful in a business-style podcast where you can take a listener through a journey of presenting the problem, providing a solution, and solving their pain point. Kind of like how they'd experience it if they worked with your company in real life. A little side note here is that this can also be done with an interview podcast, not just a monologue. For example, the hook can be a nice soundbite that introduces your guest in an engaging way. The middle can be going through the journey of that guest and how they arrived to where they're at today. And the ending can be concluding thoughts or wisdom that they can impart on your audience from what they've learned along their own journey. A good thing to keep in mind here is using analogies and metaphors. A great metaphor can take something that's super complicated and distill it down to something bite-sized that anyone can understand. Here's an example. What's a great way to explain budgeting to your audience? A good analogy is talking about this as if it were a tree. If your budget was planting a tree, you'd need to water it regularly, which is your savings, and over time, it grows into something with a strong foundation that can provide shade, which in this case would be financial security. An analogy simplifies a potentially overwhelming topic and makes it relatable, showing your audience that small, consistent actions lead to success. Also, another reason we like stories is the lessons they impart on us. Every great story, and in this case, podcast episode, should end with something that your listeners can take away from it that they can apply to their own lives. If you're discussing investment strategies, wrap it up with something simple. Start small, and remember, every tree begins as a seed. Focus on planting those seeds today, and in time, you'll have a financial forest. This gives your audience a concrete action that they can take, turning a story into a practical business solution. So, to recap, here's how you can leverage storytelling to engage a business audience and solve their problems. Number 1, understand your audience and what they care about. What problems do they have? How can you step in and fill that gap? Number 2, make your stories personal and relatable. A great story is one that we can see ourselves in. 3, use a clear structure to your story. A hook, a problem, and a solution. Number 4, simplify complex ideas using metaphors and analogies. That way, anything that could feel overwhelming is easily understood. And number 5, here's the pro tip. You can weave stories into pretty much any topic, no matter how technical, by asking simple questions like, how did we get here? This can help take your audience from a place that feels dry and technical into what now feels like a narrative. How did we get here? What does this mean for us? These are great questions to be asking, not just in the back of your mind, but literally while you're recording your episodes. So you've taken all of this in and you're not sure what to do next? No problem. We can step in and solve this pain point for you. You can book a free discovery call with us here at the Podcast Consultant using the link below. It goes without saying, we'd love nothing more than to help you share your message with the world and take the hard parts out of podcasting. That way, you can get back to having great conversations with engaging guests and sharing your brand with listeners and viewers online. Thanks again for watching. What's a storytelling technique that you use when you create your content? Let us know in the comments below. That's all from me today. See you next time, and happy recording.